On this edition of KTN Money and Power, I'll be talking to the man behind CNBC Africa and Forbes Africa, two leading brands in the African media market. Now, Rakesh, when did this all begin?
Bonny, I've been living in Dubai for the last 25 years, and that's been home for me and my family. And we, culturally found that to be a lovely place between the East and West. So we went there in '88, and I spent a lot of time in Russia after that, between 1989, 90 and 94. And we invested in the real estate market in Russia when people weren't ready to move there. So I guess a lot of the business interest started off after my move to Dubai.
Whenever the name Rakesh Wahi is mentioned in business circles, brand names like CNBC Africa, Forbes Africa, ABN Productions, ABN Newswear Services, Murdoch University Dubai, Anaya Firms and Tech One Global pop up, all pillars that hold this man's business empire. Rakesh has a sworn appetite for early stage investments in emerging markets.
There were a lot of issues going on at that point with the opening up and privatization of large businesses. So we did look at acquisition of certain banks in East Russia. We looked at acquiring a bank at that time in Ukraine, and we failed at some of these opportunities.
Rakesh set out on various investment activities in the Middle East and India until 2002 when an idea struck him.
We went to Microsoft in 2002 and talked to them about setting up an IT company in Sri Lanka to distribute Microsoft products. And Microsoft themselves were amazed. The first question they asked me was, is there a real business opportunity in Sri Lanka? There seems to be a war going on.
Tech One Global, the firm Rakesh started in Sri Lanka with only 4 employees, has now grown to a staff of 400, with branches in 8 countries having a significant presence in Bangladesh, Singapore and South Africa amongst others, with the Sri Lanka firm set to list in the Asian stock market. Rakesh and his partners exited the CNBC India to start the same outfit in Pakistan. It wasn't long before Rakesh started toying with the idea of setting up CNBC Africa.
In 2004, I found that everybody was reporting on gloom and doom. Africa was, a continent where aid was being given, and everybody talked about despotic leadership, about corruption, and things that, to my mind, were, in the larger scheme of things, not responsible reporting.
In 2004, CNBC Africa was born with the establishment of its headquarters in Johannesburg, closely followed by a bureau in Cape Town, with the East African Bureau in Nairobi opened in June of 2007. After the recession of 2007, CNBC re-embarked on expansionary plans in 2011, this time setting up offices in Namibia, Zambia, Mozambique and Gabon. Having attained this feat, it was time to dream again for Rakesh and his partners, a journey that would lead them to the birth of Forbes Africa in September of 2011.
But it was my belief that Forbes is a great title. It's a very aspirational and a very sexy brand. And to our minds, it was a great time to actually launch a magazine where Africans would see themselves as leaders, write about African, billionaires, talk about the success stories in Africa, and not just sit as Africans and read about Asian and Western stories of success.
If we talk about Forbes Africa, CNBC Africa, two leading brands, what's their market capitalization?
It's very difficult to say. Media companies are valued differently in different parts of the world. We're still in a startup stage. What I can share with you is that we've invested over 200 million rands, which is, give or take $30 million in the business so far.
Rakesh projects that in the next 5 years, Forbes Africa will be worth anything upwards of $500 million US. The media mogul attributes his achievement in life to a sound educational background he got from his parents.
I was born in Delhi, in India, and I went to school at India's best-known public school called the Doon School. So it's a very privileged background that I had, and had the best of education. Joined the National Defence Academy, which is India's training ground for the officers. Spent 3 years there, graduated with physics and mathematics.
Rakesh, a member of the Institute of Engineers in Kolkata, India, says it is the appreciation of education and the need to build capacities in his organization that inspired his third major area of investment.
The third vertical that we built was education. And education was more out of default because we weren't really academics, either Zafar or I. But we found a lot of skills shortages in the emerging markets that we were operating in. And we went into the education business primarily to try and build capacity in our own businesses. So we were looking at a very strong journalism school to begin with.
What followed was a partnership with Murdoch University in a bid to create a modern institution for journalism, resulting in the establishment of Murdoch University in Dubai. The ex-soldier is currently setting up a similar institution in Ghana with plans of going into Namibia and Zambia.
Is there a point in your life that you look back and regret at any decision that maybe you took?
I have never had any regrets in what I've done. You may have made mistakes. As part of any journey, you are going to make mistakes, whether it's in the decisions you've made to invest in certain areas, decisions you've made to hire certain people. But it's a journey where you learn.
Rakesh Wahi, a proficient golfer, is always on the golf course for relaxation, a sport his entire family has adopted. However, he admits it is hard to separate his family from his work when I ask him about his work-life balance.
This is a very difficult balance to find, and if you talk to a lot of people who are in the same boat as I am in, where you're leading a lot of organizations across the world, I think your family grows with you and they adapt to your working cycles.
Rakesh could be spotted driving around in a top-of-the-range BMW or a Porsche when he wants to go all fancy in his adopted home of Dubai, where he has lived for over 20 years. However, the modest billionaire does not quantify his wealth based on what kind of toys he has acquired, but on the value he adds to people's lives, like the orphanage he runs with his wife, taking care of 40 abandoned children in South Africa. As a tactful business strategist, Rakesh's philosophy is all too clear.
I think the most important thing is to dream big, and for any leader it's important to have a vision. You cannot have a vision if you don't know how to dream. But more important than dreaming is then having the ability to see that vision or dream through.
Well, it all takes dreams. Dreaming big, coming from a military man who built Forbes Africa and CNBC Africa. For KTN Money and Power, I'm Bonny Tunya in Nairobi.